Probably that one.
Yeah.
That one was the one you had yesterday. I had that one picking it up.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's not picking up his?
Yeah.
It was just like yesterday I had that one that wasn't picking it up.
Well, cards are back in the air, and looks like a couple of the guys aren't back yet. Zarkadulis. Sorry, it's been an hour. I forgot the names. Zarkadulis is not back yet, nor is Matt Humphrey, who I know he's okay. I had dinner with him. He should be there. So yeah, gonna be a couple free blinds for these guys. Pat's gonna open it up onto the gun. He sees an opportunity. Oh, Pesh wasn't back either. Okay, so it was Pesh, not Zarkadulis. So that's, yeah, great spot for Mahoney to steal with Pesh not there. And Doobie can't really get out of line, and Billy and William are going to play pretty tight in response. So oh, Mark does reshove. Good. That's, yeah, standard shove with a pair there. I like it. If only Jennings knew what he had. But, yeah, Mark knows that Pat's going to open extra wide with the big blind not there, and with Pesh gone, he might just open almost any two cards. So, yeah, we got 8 players left, playing down to 6. The Rock and Roll Poker Open main event here at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hollywood, Florida. Been here a couple weeks now. Ready to get back to Vegas for Bellagio. But first, going to party a little bit this weekend in Miami for Art Basel Art Festival. If you've never heard of it, biggest art festival in North America, and there's a few of them throughout the world. They have it in a few locations, but the Miami edition has a lot of music events going on at the same time. So there's a lot going on. Pretty much the best time of year to be in Miami. If you ever have a chance to come to Miami first week of December, you will not regret it. If you like warm weather, beautiful women, good food, cool art, good music. I don't know who doesn't like at least some of those things. So, yeah, there's a thought. And Pesh opening again. Again, not showing his whole cards. I would have thought that on break they might have let him know that his cards weren't being displayed, but apparently that isn't the case. Mahoney has ace-deuce suited and the big blind rather. I think he will defend. Blinds now at 40 and 80,000. So these guys are playing 40 to 50 big blinds each. Yep, Mahoney will call. Pesh with mystery cards. Great flop for Pat. Flops the nut flush draw. Ace high, likely to be the best hand anyways. And Patrick turns the nut flush. And my guess is that with Pesh checking back on this flop, he's got some sort of showdown value. He's not the type to just give up on a hand. So if he had like 6, 7 of clubs, I would think he'd just bet the flop once and try to take it down there. So my guess is he's got a weak queen or a hand like tens or jacks that don't mind giving a free card because they're either likely way ahead or way behind. And potentially slow playing, but I think Pesh would bet his massive hands to try to build a pot with his image. Wow, looks like he did just give up. I'm very, very curious what kind of hand he would play like that. My guess would be some sort of ace-6 of spades or something along those lines. Maybe trying to check it down, realizing that Pat's range is going to hit that flop a decent amount of the time. But a little surprised that Pesh would just check and then fold on the turn. Sarkadoulis gonna let this one go. Yeah, Pesh could have had a small pair, but I think even then he would bet the flop because it's such a vulnerable hand. Like if he has pocket fours, it's hard to win the pot if you check back, and then Pat bets the turn on a lot of cards. You're not really even going to be able to call once, let alone twice. So I think he would just bet once and try to fold out hands that have equity. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious about that one. Mark with Jack 7 suited. Looks like he's going to try to steal. Don't hate it, but with Pesh in the big, got to be a little more careful. Pesh isn't likely to just passively fold his big blind, so. But Jack 7 suited is not a bad hand to go to the flop with either. Still not seeing Pesh's cards. But they could not have been good. I'm sure he would defend with anything remotely connected or suited, so yeah, had to be some junk. Yeah, guys, I agree that it's not fair for Pesh's cards not to be shown, but I think the floor has been made aware of this, and looks like actually right now that they're saying something to him. I don't know if he was doing it intentionally or not, but it's yeah, we at the time of registering this tournament, you know, you got to sign a waiver that basically agrees to show your cards in situations like this, be subject to photography, filming, all that jazz, and it's just not fair to the other players if you get to be told their cards by your friends in half an hour, but nobody knows what you had. So, yeah, looks like he might be back on track with that. Jennings, King Queen offsuit here. I would expect him just to shove. He's got about 14 big blinds. Neros asking about Billy Pilosov being from The Sopranos. He does have that look. He's got that like New York kind of a mafioso look going on. But I don't believe he was in the show. Will Jennings raises it. Well, it's good for him that he didn't shove because Matt has woken up with 2 aces. Let's see how he plays them. That's a weird behavior by Jennings. I like this call. Really like it. Getting a little tricky. Give your opponents a chance to make a light squeeze. And also, Jennings is the type of guy who I think he would shove most hands that would raise and then call off, or raise and then get in against the 3-bet. So I don't know if that's what Matt is thinking, but I think by Jennings opening here, he actually more often than not has a weak hand. Not necessarily weak, but like a hand he's not stacking off. So I really like this flat, and if a king or queen comes, he will be rewarded for it. Val Carney, I didn't mean any offense to New Yorkers. I just feel like that's kind of what they sound like a little bit sometimes, at least the ones on Sopranos. So no harm meant with that. Just, you know, I live in South Florida. There's a lot of people from New York here. And so, yeah, I know a lot of them myself. Plenty of friends from New York. And Matt just goes ahead and shoves it. Ken only has 800K left. Pot was going to be well over that after his bet. So, yeah, wet flop. No need to mess around. And he got an extra 200K out of his pre-flop flat. Oh, excuse me. New Jersey Sopranos. Important distinction to make. Billy, ace queen offsuit.
Raise 175.
Raises it up. Seems like the established standard raise at this level is 175,000. Just over a min raise. That's what I would be making it if I were there. Pesh reluctantly lets go of the 5-3 offsuit. On the button, he's not a big fan of folding anything. Spadavecchia defends 9-8 offsuit in the big blind. I would do the same. Flanked for 560,000 first place prize in this tournament. Got over 700 runners. Decent improvement from last year. Got 8 left, playing down to 6. And then tomorrow we'll resume at noon, 12:30 for the live stream. And I'm hoping one of my buddies takes it down. Pesh, Patrick, or Matt, Mark, know all of them pretty well. Yeah, now William Jennings, definitely the short stack. Spadavecchia not too far behind him, or ahead of him, I should say. And it looks like Billy and Mark are pretty close. And then, of course, we have Pesh and Matt with the big stacks. Patrick right behind them. Bunch of folds. I can see Pat opening here. Pesh would be the only one to worry about getting through. I think he will open. Nope. I think it's a good spot to open light with John and Billy in the blinds. And Zarkadulis on the button. But Pesh could put Pat in a lot of bad spots. He could 3-bet really liberally, and it'd be really hard for Pat to continue with most of his range, so Pat just decides not to get caught up in that battle. Pesh opens up any 2 cards. And he takes it down. Shazara, I don't know where else your pants are supposed to hang than on your hips. None of these guys really have a gangbanger look to them. If so, I don't know what kind of gangs you've been confronted by, but they're not too scary. But yeah, man, these guys just want to be comfortable, and you know, they're playing long hours day after day, and wearing button-up shirt, jeans, a belt could be pretty uncomfortable for sitting at the table. So you know, they're here to make money, not impress anyone with their looks, and yeah, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, it's great if guys want to wear suits, dress nice. That's awesome too. But as long as your clothes are washed and, which we've had some people question Pesh's hoodie, but I'm pretty sure he's washed it. Jay Tyler, yeah, Matt Humphrey, he is a PLO player. He's not local technically. He's from Indiana, but he lived in Naples for a little while, Naples area, played at that dog track a bit. He plays down here a decent amount. He's played a lot in Florida, so you may have seen him around. Really good PLO player. Got Matt opening ace-5 suited. Pat calling with sixes. Standard stuff from both of them. Dirty, dirty. I agree. The Rio is kept at a frigid temperature. It's kind of annoying, actually. But you got to be prepared for that shit. You got to at least have a hoodie, if not wear it the whole time. And until you step out into the 120-degree heat. But you got to be prepared to sit in a cold room for 10 plus hours. And at least for me, a pair of jeans and a t-shirt is not enough. So good flop for both players, actually. Matt with a gut shot, backdoor nut flush draw. And Pat with still his pair of sixes, but that flop is favorable for his hand. It's going to go bet, call, and we're going to see a turn. I mean, Pat could consider raising here and maybe potentially turning his hand into a bluff or just taking it down against high cards. I wouldn't hate that play, actually. I think Matt is a good opponent to do that against. I don't think he would play back without a big hand or continue for that matter. So you might just save yourself from getting six-outed with a raise to, say, 600K here. And if Matt calls and you feel like he has jacks or something, you could find a bluff later in the hand on a lot of runouts. But Pat goes ahead and calls, more standard play. And we find by far the most action-inducing turn card, Matt with a straight now, and Pat with a set. Pretty sick. Like Matt's check in general, of course, if he knew Pat had a set, he would bet it. But most of Matt's range is in really bad shape to continue on this board. He's got overpairs and high cards for the most part. And Patrick could have a lot of hands that could turn into a bluff. Not to mention, I think he just might value bet a set here anyways. So I like Matt giving Pat the chance to put more money in this pot. And if Patrick had a hand like, let's say, Jack-10 suited that he had floated the flop with, that is now drawing close to dead, he would certainly bet with it here. So, yeah, I think Matt did the right thing. The hands that would call a bet are going to bet themselves, like sets. So, yeah. Now, Patrick's bet size is very small. I'm curious to see if Matt will raise. I think he should probably. I don't know. I'm not sure what's best in this spot, to be honest. It's a really tricky spot. Well, now Matt has the winner, and I think he's going to check, and Patrick will value bet. I'm almost certain. And I assume Matt will shove. If Patrick bets somewhere around the neighborhood of 700, 800,000, leaving himself like 2 million behind, less than pot. I think Matt will shove since he only loses to 9-10 suited. And it's kind of a gross spot for Pat, but it's hard not to think you have the best hand given how Matt plays typically. And I would expect him to value bet 3-6s here. He's got a couple of bluff hands in his range. Jack-10 suited, maybe pocket 9s could be turned into a bluff, maybe pocket 3s. Yeah, Pat's going to bet small, really small, 450. And that's going to get raised. I would be almost certain of it. But it's going to be a shitty spot when he oh, no. Wow. Yeah, I think Matt should have raised that one. I don't think Patrick is going to bet that small with the nuts. I mean, that said, it's hard to get a call when you check raise the river, but I just think you have the best hand nearly every time, so you have to try. Yeah, I would have liked to see Matt put in a check raise there. Maybe not even all in, but I would have check raised all in. If I were to bluff in that spot, that's what I would do. So if I'm gonna value bet in that spot, I got to do the same thing. But yeah, that was definitely a very conservative option to just call the river. And you know, like a couple of you guys are saying, it's really unlikely Patrick calls a check raise anyway. So he may have not even missed value if Patrick was going to fold. That said, still got to try. Matt opens Jack-10 suited under the gun. Beautiful hand. It's going to fold around to the blinds. Jennings in the big blind with King-10 suited. I would normally, yeah, I would just call if I were him. Because he doesn't have a whole lot of fold equity. As it turns out, Matt has the exact hand he would like to shove against, and Matt is going to have to call. It's not enough to fold to. And Matt's going to be in pretty rough shape, but still 30%. A couple of his diamonds gone. Oh, wow. Feels like a Poker Stars flop right there. And he hits the flush on the river. Sick.
Enjoy the moment a little bit. I wouldn't enjoy it very long.
Well, if Jennings were to call pre-flop, they would have been all in on the flop anyways, so nothing would have changed. And Zeno on the chat, if that's really you, Anthony, what's up, brother? Welcome to the stream. Shout out to Mark's wife, Melissa, also on the rail.
Now you're gonna have to tell me.
Really gonna hate me.
Matt and Jennings getting a little friendly after that double up. You would have thought they might have known each other's names by now, but apparently not. Zarkadulis, ace-8 suited. I would expect a raise here, even from a tighter player. But he doesn't have the stack he did have. He's still well over 20 bigs, though, so...
Raise 185.
Cool, Zeno. Safe trip, man. And I'll see you at the Bellagio. One of the most upstanding gentlemen in the poker community, in my opinion. Anthony Zeno. Well-dressed, well-mannered, well-spoken. Just all-around great guy. Matt in the big blind with 10-8 off. Certainly defendable. But I could see folding the way he's been playing. Yep. I would defend against a player like Zarkadulis. It's not going to be the toughest to play against post-flop. But it's not Matt's style, so that's cool.
You weren't whistling that, right? It's impressive. Relaxing too. It's impressive. Sounds like it was professional.
Pesh, queen 7 suited. Probably going to open it.
Must be real laid back and happy. Probably MSG right now.
Raise 175.
But he's not going to like it. Zarkadulis right behind him with ace-king suited. 8 players left, Mookie. And they're all right here. Yes, this is the final table. Playing down to 6 for the official final table tomorrow. I imagine this will take another maybe hour, something like that. But could be much longer, could be much shorter. You never know. Zarkadulis just shoves it. Not really a fan of that. It's clearly a good play, profitable play, but I mean, you got ace-king suited against a guy that's raising like any 2 cards. You want to like try to get a little value. Jennings behind with ace-queen. Now this is pretty clear to most of us who've been watching that ace-queen is an easy fold here. But I could see Jennings going with it. He's a little bit on the shorter side. He's, from what I understand, more of a kind of an amateur player. Yeah, if Zarkadulis would have flatted or 3-bet, I think Jennings would have for sure shipped it. As it stands, it's pretty hard to call off. You don't really expect to be up against ace-jack ever. So, yeah, I think Jennings is going to be kind of given a free pass on this one.
Why so much, buddy? Does it count? It's about 2 million. That's all you count.
Jennings really considering this, and if he calls, he'll be in real bad shape, especially with Pesh having a queen. He lets it go.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, that's how good. It doesn't come mad, you know?
And of course, the snap fold from Pesh. Zargadulis, when he looks back at this stream, if he does, is going to really regret that play. He cost himself potentially another 1.6 million that Jennings might have gotten in there. See that pretty often from less experienced players with ace king on a 25-ish big blind stack. They'll just shove it over a raise, or sometimes even just shove as an open. But you know, and often because they're afraid to see the flop and potentially miss the flop and not know what to do with ace high. But by doing that, all you do is kind of shut out action from all the hands that you dominate. And although you do make your hand easier to play by not giving yourself any post-flop decisions, you really cost yourself a lot of value in the long run by kind of what just happened, getting ace-queen to fold. And, you know, that costs a lot over time. Mark with 2 jacks. He is going to be really excited to have this hand.
Start with like $1 million.
Oh, Spadavecchia opened on a pretty short stack. I'd be a little wary with 2 jacks here, but he's still gonna shove. You just gotta do what you gotta do, and if you know, if you got it, you got it. But after seeing Spadavecchia open the ace-6 of diamonds before on a fairly short stack, I wouldn't be as concerned. That said, it's not gonna surprise me at all if Spadavecchia has kings or aces here. And I think Mark is probably thinking the same thing. He's a really smart player, but I think he knows there's not a whole lot he can do. Problem is, Spadavecchia, if he had like 10s or 9s, he would, I'm almost certain, just shove to start with. Wow, tough spot from Matt. Really tough spot. I think he will find a fold only because of Spadavecchia's open. But I don't know how John's been playing this whole time. And okay, so yeah, Spadavecchia was inducing with his small raise, which I don't see that often from some of the like old school players. A lot of those guys just shove there with ace king and don't choose to get tricky because they're so short stacked. But I like it. I really hope Matt folds here. I think he will. If he thinks about it enough, he's going to know that Mark's not going to really shove too light on John. And Matt knows Mark folded ace-king earlier, so he's been a little bit conservative in some of these similar spots, getting his stack in. He's not trying to go broke on some, you know, marginal hand. Uh-oh. I think Matt really thinks about it. He'll know that Mark is not going to shove ace-jack. But ace-queen suited is a damn good-looking hand, so we'll see what happens. Matt's really in the tank with this one. Nice fold. Very nice fold. I mean, if he got it in and hit a queen, he'd really be well off, but looks like instead Mark is a pretty good favorite to bust John after Matt folded that ace. So let's see what happens. I am with you, Zeno. I would put my money on the jacks here, especially now. And Jack's hold. See you later, Johnny. Played pretty well. Only played a few hands, but played them well, I think. The ace-6 of diamonds was a little ambitious. Otherwise, you know, I think he did what he could.
Would you have one hand with ace queen? I didn't see it.
No. Paired at 10 on the draw, touch on dead, 3-way 5.
What needs to move?
No.
Yeah, I was small blind.
No.
I was a small one.
Yeah, I remember him having a small blind last
Yeah,
time.
he opened under the
I
gun.
thought I was small blind.
Yeah.
Almost got him there.
I don't want to clear balls.
Little appearance in the commentary cave by Tony Burns, the boss man running this show. Killing it as tournament director over here at Seminole Hard Rock. Has a lot of passion about his job here, and it shows. People really like him and like what he's doing with the place, and you know, the tournaments are reflecting that.
Raised to 175.
Billy with 9s. Down to 7 players now. One more bust out, and then we will be done for the day. Doobie considering the potential to 3-bet light here, but passes it up. Pretty reasonable spot to consider it, at least. You know, we know Billy's capable of opening some less than nutted hands that could just fold to a 3-bet. Folds around to Zarkadoulis, 6-7 off in the big blind.
What's next?
I would defend there for sure, but he is not one to defend.
Good hand.
Now you can handle it.
Good enough.
Someone asked about pausing the clock for a deal. I believe they would if it were brought up, but it certainly won't be, at least until there are maybe 4 players left, at least. Even then, I'd be shocked if they made a deal with more than 3 players. Mark folds under the gun.
Raised to 185.
Matt raises with ace-10 offsuit. Hijack, pretty standard. Even with good players behind you, aggressive players, it's plenty good enough. Pash with the 10-5, never one to insta-fold. And to Billy in the big with 3-4 suited. Wouldn't be the worst spot to defend, but I don't think it's his style really either. Maybe though. lets it go. If you weren't with us earlier when we were talking about it, the Hard Rock is expanding their outdoor area, tearing down a lot of the stuff, if not all the stuff that's out there now, and rebuilding it and building a whole new tower. Gonna have a nice new poker room, bunch of new restaurants, I'm sure some nightclubs and bars. Just really expanding and improving the property here, which is already pretty nice. They have a monopoly on the casino resort industry in South Florida right now. And it's nice to see that they're, you know, putting some of the money they've made, which is a lot, back into the amenities and you know, making it a nicer place for the customers, which includes us poker players on occasion. And I'm sure the new poker room is going to be sick. I'm really, really excited about that.
Raised 175.
Be a couple years down the road, but you know, it'll be something. Pesh opening queen jack off, and the cutoff is Arcadulis, and the button with queen jack suited. I imagine we're going to see a flat call here. Darren, good to see you're still with us. I would like to see more casinos down here, but Florida has restrictions on gambling, and only the Indians the Native Americans can build casinos or have gambling properties other than the dog tracks, parimutuels. So yeah, we don't really have real casinos down here. The Hard Rock is basically the only fully operational casino. A couple smaller ones, but they're nothing to compare to this. There's been talk for many years about Miami opening up gambling and having major casinos come in, which would be just unreal given how much money comes in to the city, but it hasn't happened yet, so not relying on it. Oh wow, Mark wakes up with kings in the big blind. And we will see a squeeze here. I'm gonna guess he goes to about 600K, maybe 625, 650, something like that. Definitely doesn't want to scare his opponents off. He wants all the action he can get with his hand, but you don't want to give them a great price to call either if they have a hand like ace queen suited, ace jack suited. If he knew they both had queen jack, I'm sure he would not mind giving them a good price, but he doesn't know that, so it looks like 555 maybe, 580.
555,000 total.
555, yeah, I like it. Yep, neither of them can really call too effectively with many hands when they're only playing 30 big blinds effective. Pesh folds, and Zarkadulis, you know, he's folded jacks in this kind of spot before, but I get the feeling he might call here. He's got position, nice suited connected hand. No, he's going to let it go. Okay. Muffin Shooter asking about the delay. You know, I think it's kind of obvious. If it wasn't on some delay, then somebody could potentially get real-time information about their opponent's hands if it was live. You know, if I'm tanking on the river and the stream is showing the cards and my girlfriend is on the rail, or wife or friend, and, you know, I'm not saying any of these guys would do that. I'm sure they wouldn't actually, but it's just, yeah, can't be done. And, you know, there's certain things that might need editing, or it just makes the whole thing run smoother to have a delay. Cripple Daxon asking about Lucky Hearts Poker Open. The only thing it conflicts with, I think, might be PCA. Aussie Millions starts around the 11th, 13th, 11th, I think. So it might conflict with that as well. As far as North American tournaments, I believe Lucky Hearts is on its own. And actually, I don't think it conflicts with I think it goes PCA, Lucky Hearts, and then Aussie Millions, but I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. I think Lucky Hearts is like the 2nd or 3rd week of January. Right after PCA, it might go into the 1st week of Aussie Millions. West Palm Circuit is in February. I was lucky enough to win that tournament last year. Insert brag. So yeah, I know when that one is. Pesh picks up another one. What's up, 66 Deuce? Thanks for the compliment. I'm trying my best in here. I'm a little tired, and you know, without a partner, it can be a little tough to keep the ball rolling, but I'm doing what I can, and I know a few of these guys personally, so that helps a little bit. So yeah, trying to keep it alive. Not much longer to go. I don't remember when I met Pesh, Alan, for the first time. I'm sure it was through a mutual friend. We have many mutual friends, and that's kind of how it works in the, you know, the poker tournament circuit. You kind of just meet people along the way, and then you meet people who know those people, and so on and so forth. And you just, a lot of guys who travel to a lot of stops, and you just see the same people around, and you know, hang out on breaks, joke around, you know, whatever. Thanks, Melissa. Not gonna lie, I would kind of hope someone goes broke relatively soon, but as long as it's not one of my buddies. Not that I'm showing favoritism, but I am. Jennings on the shortest stack now. Mahoney right behind him with 24 bigs. Billy and Zarkadulis in the middle of the pack. Matt up top, sitting comfortably with 100 big blinds. Hey, Morris. Good to hear from you, man. My buddy Morris Funk on the chat. Appreciate the compliment. Lucky Hearts is not part of WPT Deep Stacks unless they change that coming into this year. It's been its own event. It might actually, I believe it is a WPT event, just not televised. This is, yeah, because the big one in August is the televised WPT, and then in January, Lucky Hearts is the just standalone WPT without being televised. And then we have this one, which is just a Hard Rock event.
Race 185 is the bet.
Alan, I don't know if I'm going to be doing commentary tomorrow. Haven't talked to the appropriate parties, and I haven't decided I have to take care of some things this week, so decent chance I'm back tomorrow, but don't know for sure yet. Got Mark opening with the Jack 4 offsuit here. Pretty aggressive open, especially with two good players in the blinds. I would much rather do this in like Pesh's spot, But Mark has a stack now, and I think it's not bad. And Matt's going to hit him with a 3-bet. I really like it. Matt's got a good image, good sizing. Really good play by Matt, actually. And I doubt Mark's going to continue with a hand like Jack 4 offsuit. Absolute bottom of his range. I mean, he could, if he 4-bet, it would have to be to almost half of his stack or a third of his stack. I mean, it would work, I think. It would be super hood, but I mean, without any blockers, any equity, Matt's been playing really tight. Unless Mark has some sick read, which I'd be surprised. Doesn't even look like he's looking at Matt. I think he's going to let this one go. Regarding Tampa Hard Rock, they have some great tournaments there too, but they just don't have quite as big of a poker economy down there. South Florida has a better economy in general, a lot more. Yeah, Mark's going to let this one go. South Florida has a lot more wealthy people, as far as I could tell. You know, a lot of Europeans. You get a lot of retired people moving down here. South Florida just draws a different demographic than the rest of Florida, and most of them don't necessarily drive the 4 hours to play Tampa tournaments. So yeah, we get bigger and I guess I'd say better tournaments down here, even though they do a great job in Tampa. I've enjoyed playing there the times I've gone. They got a great team. Shout out to Tommy Bates and Byron over there. But yeah, I don't see them getting quite to the level that we have tournaments down here. I just can't see it. We just have access to more people, and more people with money, more importantly. So good 3-bet from Matt, gets through. Ace-8 suited, a little tricky to call out of position there, especially with Patrick in the big blind, likely to defend. And with Matt's image, he can get away with it. Zarkadoulis opens Queen-Jack suited. Very pretty hand. Airtime, I have not seen the plans for the new room. I really don't know anything about it other than it's going to be new, and I would imagine they'll put a decent chunk of money into it. Oh, you were mentioning new room regarding Tampa. Yeah, I heard that they're building a new room there too. Don't know anything about that either, though. And no matter what they do, I just don't see that property reaching the level that this one has with regards to poker. Tampa just doesn't have the economy for it that we do. And it's just far enough away that people from down here aren't necessarily excited to drive 4 or 5 hours to go play. Tampa Hard Rock, though, the first live casino I ever played in. I used to, like I was mentioning earlier, I used to deal bar poker tournaments with Tony Burns. He was my boss. And we would finish dealing bar poker around 2 a.m., drive up to the Tampa Hard Rock, and play some sit-and-goes. That's pretty much the biggest game they ran back then, was $200, $500, and $1,000 sit-and-goes. We didn't have no limit back in those days. 1-2 limit was the big game. Played that a decent amount as well. It was a lot of fun. But I remember going up there, playing with John Raciner and Justin Zaki, all those guys, Tampa crew. And yeah, that was the first place I really played a lot of live. Darren, I don't buy it. I think you just like getting into it with people. But if it's a bit, it's a really good one. name is Sean. We talked earlier about Marty Derbyshire, the Poker News journalist who was relieved of his job, I guess today or yesterday, after a series of controversial articles, you could say, that kind of got some of the professional poker community riled up. And yeah, they finally decided enough was enough. Didn't like what he was writing, or at least the feedback they were getting as a result of it. Let him go, and he issued a public apology today. And, you know, I'll let people read into that how they will. I have my opinions on it, but don't see any good reason to get too much into that. But I hope they find someone good to replace him, and I hope, you know, I wish him the best in whatever he does in the future. Couple of folds, Matt folds. Mahoney wakes up from his nap. What's up, Strelitz? If that's you, Deoxy. This is D-Fish in the booth. Pat opens with King 7 suited. Good spot for him to be opening. Well, scratch that idea. Pesh actually has a really good hand for once. Couple of queens. He's going to bump it up to, I'd guess, around 420. Let's call it 420. I don't know why that number just came to me. Trailblaze asking about the cards being exposed before the camera sees them. Well, they have RFID chips in them, but the camera does see them. I think it has to see them to show us, so I'm not sure exactly how the technology works. Wow, he makes it a little bigger than I expected. Billy with King Jack suited here. He's on the tighter side, but this really wouldn't be the worst spot to shove. I mean, if Pesh had his normal hands, he would fold instantly. But yeah, Billy's going to let it go, not surprisingly. And I think Pat's going to fold too. King 7 suited, excuse me, doesn't have too good of equity against calling range. Yeah, I don't really love Pesh's sizing there, but I mean, whatever. I don't think it mattered much. Yeah, we're not really seeing many flops here. A lot of pre-flop poker being played. Which is kind of to be expected with these kind of stacks. Matt's the only one who's especially deep. And Pesh, but they're seated in a way that they're not really going to play too many hands together. Pesh with the mighty 4 deuce off. I think we'll be seeing an open here. He's got. Oh, wow. Let one go. It's probably one of his better spots to open. His button and cutoff are going to be where he'll see the least resistance. Hijack also. One hand sample size mentioned something that I actually forgot to mention earlier. They did break the record for largest tournament in Florida poker history here with the 360 1 million guarantee. They had over 5,000 entries. Pretty amazing, if you ask me. I'm sure a lot of those were re-entries, but nonetheless, a pretty amazing prize pool for a $360 tournament. Paid about $250,000 for first. Billy limp sevens here, kind of surprised by that, but he might not want to get in a big pot out of position against a tough opponent like Mark. A lot of overcards, obviously, that can come, but I think he's just going to bet and win here. Mark's very creative. I could see him doing something here. I don't necessarily love it against a player like Billy, who's, you know, more likely to have a good hand. But as it turns out, Billy does have a hand, but not a good one for this flop, and this raise might just do it. But the problem is, if Billy had, obviously, if he had a jack, he's not folding. If he has an 8, he's not folding. If he has any sort of combo draw, he'd probably just shove or at least call and make it tough for Mark to continue. He's got basically the perfect hand for Mark to raise against in this situation. And don't know if he'll let it go, though. He's been playing with Mark. He knows he's capable of bluffing. Valcarni, I'm all for free speech, but when you're exercising of the right to free speech contradicts or is to the detriment of the organization you are paid by, I think they are more than justified to have a problem with that and address it by firing you, or any other course of action they might take. I mean, if if you're working for a company and your work is hurting that company, regardless of any amendment rights, I think it's pretty reasonable that they don't have to be obligated to employ you. Yeah, I don't think that really goes against free speech. Marty's more than welcome to write an independent blog. Yeah, like Darren says, they did publish the articles. So if anything, they were, supporting his right to free speech. But then once they saw an issue with it, they decided they didn't want to be a part of it. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into how they handled that. But I think they made a wise business decision by letting him go. I'll say that. Pesh opening Jack 10 offsuit. Takes it down. Pesh opening ace 4 suited. Good hand. Matt defends the big with Jack 10 off and flops it. Top pair. Top pair. Really good flop for Matt's range. Not that great of a flop for Pesh's range, but as we've seen, Pesh opens a bunch of hands, so it's actually better for his range than it would be for most players' opening ranges. Still favors Matt a bit. And he's going to lead. It's very interesting. I don't mind it against a lot of players, but Pesh is too sticky. And if Pesh had like a gut shot here, he could like raise and start to blast and really make your life hell. I think I would just go ahead and check call with a hand as good as top pair here. But I don't know, Pesh might decide not to get involved. We'll see. It's very possible with the backdoor spades that he does not give it up yet. Pesh spinning the wheels and decides not to get too creative there. Another one for Matt. Jennings on the button with 9-10 offsuit. Lets it go. Could have shoved there profitably, but it's kind of thin. Sure he can find a better spot. Matt raises. I don't like this at all, but it's going to work, I think. 2-3 suited, just not great hand open, no blockers. I guess it's not horrible with Pat's stack size. He's going to put him in a shove or fold spot with a lot of his range. But it's just you have a 2 and a 3. Those are pretty bad cards. So I just wouldn't necessarily do it. I think I would maybe limp. But I guess the raise, I didn't notice Pat's stack size at first, and I don't like it. Don't hate it as much given Pat's short stack. And Patrick knows that Will Jennings is shorter than him and probably more likely to bust before him. And there's a decent pay jump now. I don't know the exact payouts, but I'm sure it's something significant enough to make a couple of solid folds to last one more spot, make it to the final table, official final table. Fold, fold. Matt, ace, queen on the button. Big hand. Just going to open it. And let's hope for Patrick's sake that he doesn't wake up with any decent hand, because I'm sure he would shove with quite a wide range here. Any suited ace, Broadway hands, Jack 2 suited, not going to do it. Pesh, King 8 suited, that'll be a defend. More than good enough to see a flop. I mean, he could 3-bet, but I see no good reason to get into a battle out of position with one of the other good players who has you covered. Hand like King 8 suited, just good enough to see the flop. There we have the payouts. 6th place, 109,000. So I'm guessing 7th is somewhere around 70-ish, 80-ish, probably 80-ish. So yeah, the decent little jump just to last one more player. Matt flops essentially the nuts. Top pair, second kicker. I think Pesh will call at least one time here. King high, backdoor nut flush draw. King high could certainly be the best hand. Backdoor nut flush would definitely be the best hand. Turns a king. That's going to be trouble for Pesh. It's going to get him to call one more bet, I think. I would like to see Matt continue betting here. Ace Queen's certainly good enough to go for 3 streets of value. Don't expect Pesh to check raise bluff very much. And if he has a weak ace, he might call you down the whole way. So yeah, we're going to see Matt bet it here. I'm guessing somewhere around 400. Oh, that looks, yep, 460. Oh. Oh, excuse me, I had the yellows and the chocolates mixed up. 345. Good size. I would have gone right around there, maybe a little bigger. Yeah, Pesh is going to call this. Matt has a lot of bluffs. I would continue betting if I were him with Jack 10, Jack Queen, Queen 10, 4-5, any diamonds, maybe even Deuce 4 suited or something even worse like that, 5-6 suited. Pesh could have a lot of 7x, 3x. And those hands will all fold on the turn. Backdoor diamonds, not a big concern. Matt has a queen of diamonds. I think he's got a value bet here. I would go for like 800, maybe 750-ish. I think Pesh will find a fold here, but let's see what the size. 620. A little small, but I kind of like it. Six, seven, eight, asking about blocker theory. Pretty much came into play when people started really getting into combinatorics which is kind of the study of different combinations of hands that you or your opponent can have, and kind of creating a range based on that. And for instance, in this spot, having the queen of diamonds, you know, that eliminates a lot of, not that Pesh would have many queen high diamonds diamond hands, but let's say in theory it would take away, you know, queen jack of diamonds, queen 10 of diamonds, queen 9 of diamonds, and that is pretty significant when you're playing against tough players and edges are thin. Oh, Pesh rivered 2 pair. I didn't even realize that. Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, I see that. 2 pair.
Good run out. You had a button opening range. I didn't give you ace queen.
Sorry, guys. I am tired. And every once in a while, I just miss things in life. I'm just not that smart.
I thought I had the best hand in the flop. Guess I was wrong.
I'll try to stay sharp for the rest of the way for you guys. I think that's the only time I've misread the board all day, so I hope you will excuse me. Don't think Pesh could ever raise there for value. That'd be way too thin. No, I don't think Pesh can value raise there. I mean, the only worse hands Matt is value betting is like ace queen, ace 10, ace jack, and I don't think he's really gonna bet call a raise when backdoor flush got there, and there's a decent amount of 2 pair combos Pesh could have potentially. So yeah, I think he's got to fold if he gets check raised. Ken's all in with ace king, and he's gonna take it down. Couple of folds. Matt opens 9-10 of spades. I would do the same pat trick with a spot that could be definitely reshovable, but he's gonna let it go. Still trying to wait for a good spot.
Yeah, that's what I thought that's what happened. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I would be a little weary too.
Yeah, when you bet the rear, I was like,
Matt takes it down.
Roll over, I'm like, that's a flush. I know.
yeah,
honestly,
same here. I was like,
I mean, I knew he had it whenever he was like, I can't fold. But he made some really fair. Yeah. But I thought he'd call with a lot, which I guess he would.
Hey Morris, thanks for another compliment. I really appreciate it. I enjoy doing this commentating stuff.
or like offsuit six.
You know, it's kind of fun. You get to see the hands, and I could be watching this stream just in my room or elsewhere, but I don't know. It just feels a little more immersive to be here talking about it. And you know, I like interacting with the people watching, and I like talking through the hands myself. I feel like it keeps me thinking more than I might if I were just watching quietly. So yeah, I really enjoy doing it, and I hope to do a lot more commentary in the future.
Raise 185.
Matt raised it up with mystery cards. Guessing they're pretty good. He's under the gun +1 and he plays pretty solid. Billy with 8-9 suited and small blind. He's kind of got an awkward stack to do anything. I think he's got to fold, but don't let me tell him what to do. Wow, if I could pick one co-host right now, that's tough. Really tough. I mean, like I said before, I think Nick Schulman is the boss of all bosses when it comes to commentary. And I find it very interesting, but I don't know him at all, so I don't know if we would have good chemistry with commentary together. I really like doing it with Matt Salzberg, to be honest. I think he's got a good sense of humor. You know, he's a pretty good player. Has a bit of a different background than some of us in poker, and he's just a goofy guy. So I enjoy doing it with him. TK Miles, good friend of mine. It would be interesting to have him in here. He's he can be a little harsh with words sometimes, so I don't know how that would go. But great poker player, and I've known him many, many years. We've been friends for a long time. Rapport, that's the word, Darren. Thank you. Not chemistry. Rapport. Matt gets 9-10 suited every other hand. That's kind of sweet.
I had aces once that went through. I was pretty mad about that.
You don't get action with aces.
Come on.
That's like devastating.
Billy, ace-3 off.
Like
I'm
having
sure he's
three
going to fold that. Jennings in the big with Jack-10 offsuit. He might defend here. He might just fold it. It's kind of short. I mean, I could see him shoving. I think it would be pretty awful to do that, but it wouldn't surprise me a whole lot. I think he's one of the lesser experienced players, and he just calls. I think that's the best play. Wow, and bottom two pair for Matt and middle pair for Ken. Sorry, Will. And there's going to be at least one more bet going into this flop. Darren suggests Flo's being in the booth with me, Joe Sirach. One of my favorite human beings, but he's not the most wordy. More of a thinker than a speaker, I would say. But he's got some funny things that he does say, and that would be interesting. Wow, kind of surprised that Jennings just check folded there. Certainly could have had the best hand. He didn't, but he could have. Gets a walk. Jennings kind of bleeding here. I think Pat is mostly looking to just wait him out. Another person asking about Pesh washing his hoodie. That's about the 50th time I've seen that question today. I could only assume he does. I have no reason to think that he would not wash his laundry from time to time. Take a shower here and there. I do it at least once a month. What's up, RIU Realtor? I didn't have great results in this series myself. Cashed in the 570. That was it. Yeah, didn't get much going in the main. Didn't even make day 2. Always enjoy playing the tournaments here, because especially the smaller prelims where the risk reward is very, very strong. Play a 360 for $250,000 or 570 for 100K first place. Those are the kind of tournaments I really like the most. You're putting up very little and you stand to win a very big prize if you run hot. So I like those, but no luck this time. Zarkadulis opens king queen off. Matt interested with 10-6 offsuit. It actually would be a pretty sweet spot to 3-bet and leverage Zarkadulis' stack against Jennings. I think Zarkadulis would have folded to a 3-bet. Pat, ace-4 suited, kind of a tricky spot. I think he's just going to call. Zarkadulis not opening a whole lot. 7 players left. Queen B playing down to 6, and then we will resume tomorrow. Final table. And this is an interesting flop. Zarkadulis with a gut shot, queen high flush draw. Pat Mahoney, top pair with no kicker. They are dead even, 50-50. It's very rare that you see that. But I don't know if they're 50-50 to win the hand, because depending how they play it. Oh, yeah, wow. Mahoney, I don't know if he'll call here against this player. I could see Zarkadulis doing this with ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king with no club, just in fear of the clubs. Yeah, I don't. That's tough. Ace-4 suited, no club. I think you gotta fold. It really sucks, but with no club, no equity to improve really. And you know your guy Zarkadulis has either a better ace, a hand exactly like he has that's 50-50, and that's really about all he could have. So your best case is what the hands are right now, and that's not even that great. So I think Pat will find a fold, and he's going to be a little frustrated about this. I think he may have check-shoved over a normal bet here, but Zarkadulis took that option away from him. Yeah, I think Pat's got to find a fold here. I just don't see what kind of range he could give his opponent to be, you know, in a happy situation. Just sucks. You defend, flop your best pair, and you're pretty short, and you can't love it. I mean, Zarkadulis could have king 10 with king of clubs. Would be a favorite then. Queen 10, queen of clubs even. Or like I said, ace jack, ace queen, ace king with no club. I think he might play like this. really don't know what Pat's gonna do here. He calls it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's right there. I think I would have folded though. Great card for Patrick. And he holds up.
Nice
Gonna
hand.
double up.
Sick call. Jesus Christ. I would have folded.
Pesh saying he would have folded also.
How'd you call with that?
He's looking at me, but not you.
1.245.
Was it?
1.245.
Sick call, Mahogany.
It was. It looks like you would fold. No one here believes that shit.
Ram break.
And everybody's going on a break here. And I think that's going to wrap it up for me tonight. I'm getting a little worn out here, a little tired, and been sitting in here all day. And I want to play the last fight of the $150 tournament, 100K guarantee, little lottery, take a shot. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. Thanks, guys in the chat, for sticking around, you know, chatting back and forth. I enjoyed interacting with you guys, and thanks for the compliments. Haters, thanks for the hate. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. I'll probably be back tomorrow. All right, peace.
a day with. Still good though, I guess.
Before we get started, I'd like to grab everybody's phones. We're just want to let them do it now. Take care of it. Implement it a little earlier than expected.
Oh, you actually take our phones?
Yeah, phones.
Oh, you're taking it.
Yeah, take them.
I don't even want it.
No,
I'm from there, yeah.
We're just calling it taking our phones.
How will I snapshot now?
What do you say?
How will I snapshot?
All right, 15,000 Annie, 50 and 100,000 on the blinds, everybody.
Hand between us just came up. I was like, wanted to listen. You're like, how bad it was. Sure. Never got there.
Raise 230 is the bet.
Two players.
Two players to the flop. Check. One checks. That's 215.
Good luck. Thank you, sir. Sounds like a 17-fold. You're like, I just don't want to put it. I just throw it. I'll do it. That's all of us. You didn't? You wanted it? I might have. I think maybe you brought it. Oh, actually, you didn't for me. That's why.
So you didn't put up 15?
Yeah. Yeah.
Five folds. Raised to 225 is the bet.
Six versus 225,000. Seven folds.
205 is the bid.
Want to raise it to 205,000?
Call. 2 players.
No, just adjust it.
60.
60, yeah, 60's to 1.
Sure.
For some reason it shows 60.
Yeah, yeah.
And I readjusted it.
Okay.
The levels are 60 minutes to one.
Tomorrow.
That starts when we go up.
Yeah.
Times it starts.
That's 185.
Times it starts.
185.
One guy's 185,000.
Call. Check.
6 checks.
Check.
1 check.
Check, check.
People probably think the card reader was broken there for like half a second.
Raise 225 is the bid.
I raise it to 225,000.
It's 205 spent.
One versus 205,000. Two pools. 5 pools.
Completely forgot. I know I won't remember unless I have a note. I'm supposed to call on dinner break. Yeah, I just got a sticker on you. I was just like, don't forget it. Whenever he bets, he usually doesn't give up. I wanted to remember.
You must got me to flip 'em. Wow, that was crafty.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. Good luck. Rick, where?
Good playing with you, bud.
Toby, we did it.
I totally fucking misplayed that.
Take 5, kid.
I thought if I went,
I've only made one
I
other
thought if
day.
I went there, 100% raise on the show.
Never seen worse cards.
That was my
than
plan.
built
and
today.
Hey, good shit. Oh, yeah. Nice call.
It was a bad spot when you raise, like, what am I, you know what I mean?
It's worth waiting.
Five off.
I
Kill, I
like
didn't kill
it.
the
Raise
momentum.
my
I was like, steadily climbing.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh,
Walk away, I've been card
All right, gentlemen, tomorrow, what was the buck? Oh, you raised